of the training that we're looking at, part of the supply and demand issue, is to recognize that many of these people, just like they did in the commercial aviation business, are going to go back out into the private sector. And so our training pipeline should be sized to meet that demand, which I think is about 100,000 people. And we should acknowledge the fact that most are going to have one tour of duty of a 4-year period. And the Marine Corps model is 75%, 25%. So they retain 25% and 75% go back out into the private sector. I would argue that's probably not a bad model for how we should size our training pipeline. The 75% going out, we need to send them out there because 85% of the infrastructure we need to protect is the private sector. There needs to be this continued symbiotic relationship between those in the defense sector and the homeland security sector and those in the private sector because of the symbiotic relationship between the infrastructure we're trying to protect and national security. We've been myopically focused on this retention issue because we need to keep what we have. But if you really look at the broader strategic picture, do you really want to retain those people? Because most of the infrastructure we have to protect is not in the government side of the house, it's in the private sector. And in the end, those people will serve the nation, whether in the military or if they're in the private sector. You're putting a huge tranche of expertise into the private sector that's been highly trained in offensive and defensive capabilities. And so is there a concern that somehow those people may not use it for good, but might use it for personal gain or in a bad way? You could also look at the special operations community and say the same thing. I mean, we have these very highly trained, surgical kinds of lethal force, and we put them out in society. You know what they do? They run major companies. They don't use the skill set in a kinetic way. They take what they've learned, and they are marvelous managers, corporate executives, and leaders in the industry. So part of the training has to be the ethos about doing the right thing and understanding how to use this stuff and how not to.